Today we're going to do a video on my philosophy of opening the bidding light. This isn't necessarily gospel truth. I'm just going to walk you through what my algorithm is when I'm deciding things like, should I open the bidding versus passing? And should I open at the 1 level versus maybe making a week 2 or a 3-level preemptive opening bid? The tools we're going to be using today that you might not be familiar with are: one, losing trick count. We're gonna use that to evaluate some hands. And second is more of a concept of offense to defense ratio. And it's just the amount of tricks your hand would take if it declared the hand versus the number of tricks it could potentially provide on defense if you defend their contract. Okay, so I've chosen some hands from Thursday night's review that generated questions about, this doesn't meet the rule of 20. Why are we opening? Or why are we opening 1 versus 2? So let's kind of walk down the decision train here. First of all, I am a big advocate of opening the bidding if it's close. Okay, and there's two different types of hands that we might open the bidding a little light on, two different families. So one of those would be balanced hands. Okay, and those are definitely going to be less open to artistic interpretation, I suppose. So with balanced hands, if I have 12 high card points or more, I'm opening the bidding. And with 11, I'm going to use some judgment. So the things that would make me want to open 11-point hands: not being vulnerable would make me want to open. Being 5-3-3-2 shaped, or potentially 4-4-3-2 shaped rather than 4-3-3-3 would steer me towards opening light. Having 10s and 9s would tend to steer me towards opening. Having my high cards concentrated in my longer suits would tend to make me open the bidding versus passing. So those are some guidelines for balanced hands. That's an easier decision than unbalanced hands, and I want to focus on the unbalanced hands today. Okay, and as a backdrop, we're going to be using 5 of the hands from the Thursday night bidding review and just talk about how I'd be making my decisions. Again, feel free to adopt whatever style you like. This is how I would be thinking about it. Okay, so hand 1 right off the bat was a hand that generated some discussion because I did open the north hand 1 spade, which certainly seems light to probably a lot of people, maybe even most of them reasonable, but I'll walk through why I'm opening this hand 1 spade. So a 6-4 shape, and potentially a very powerful hand as far as generating tricks if I can find any sort of fit with partner. And again, keeping in mind that there's just you make the opponent's life so much tougher when you open the bidding than when you sit there and pass. I'm going to make some sort of non-pass action with this bid. I only have 9 high card points, but I have 6-4 shape, I have the boss suit, and I have almost all of my high cards in my long suits. So I want to take some action with this hand. And it's a question of whether I should open 2 spades or 1 spade. The reason I'm opening 1 spade is because of the offense to defense ratio here. The higher the offense to defense ratio, the more you should be incentivized to open a preemptive bid. And why I'm saying this hand is more defensively oriented or more balanced or more flexible, like you could potentially play either spades or diamonds on this type of hand, is if we opened with a weak 2 in spades and things went sort of south for us, like, partner didn't have any trump support, partner didn't have like a fitting diamond card. The problem is I don't have I don't have a good spade suit. I don't have good interiors. Like, to open a weak 2, what I am looking for as the prototype is a suit that's actually missing the ace, but has great spot cards after that. Something like king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 6th of spades. So, for instance, if you changed my hand here, gave me the same type pattern, but king, queen, jack, 10, 9, 6th of spades, and the 6-4 shape, and maybe a king on the outside, maybe a 9 count like I've got here, but make the spade suit much better such that the offense to defense ratio is higher, I would certainly possibly be thinking about opening 2 spades. So it's not a matter of how many points you have necessarily. It's a matter of what's offense and what's defense. And here, defensively, if you think about, the opponent's playing hearts perhaps, defensively, you can provide potentially a lot of defense. Like the Jack of Clubs might be a defensive card if partner has something like Queen Third. The King Jack of Diamonds obviously might be defensive cards. The Ace of Spades is a card you're definitely going to win on defense. And again, contrast that with King, Queen, Jack, 10, 9, 6 of spades. You probably don't have a trick of defense. Okay. Defense is making me tend towards opening the bidding at the 1 level. All my hand being offense is going to make me tend towards opening a preemptive bid when it's close. Okay, so those are the reasons why I'm leaning towards a 1 spade bid on this hand rather than opening a weak 2. Another tool I like to use to check my judgment, and this is a tool that primarily we would use once we've established a trump fit with partner to decide whether we want to play part score, game, maybe slam, is something called losing trick count. And the way it works on the north hand is you can never have more than 3 losers in a suit. And every non-ace, king, queen that the suit is headed by, you're going to count a loser. So for instance, my spade suit is at least 3 cards long, but I have the ace. So I would count 2 losers. The heart suit is 1 loser. I'm up to 3. The club suit is 2 losers. I'm up to 5. And the King, Jack, 10, 4th of diamonds is 2 losers, right? Because I've got at least a 3-card suit, but I have the king. So I'm up to 7 losers. I also like to use an adjustment where I give myself a little bonus for aces and I penalize myself a little bit for queens. So I'm going to do a half a trick, fewer losers for aces, and a half a trick more losers for queens. Here I have a surplus of 1 ace because I have 1 ace and no queens. So I'm actually going to adjust that 7 number for losing trick count down to 6.5 here. Now, an opening bid is supposed to contain for unbalanced hands, is supposed to contain 7 losers or fewer. So that's sort of the checkpoint that I'm using is 7. And here I'm actually at 6.5. And again, thinking about the offense-defense ratio idea, these are all the components that are making me open this bid 1 spade. For the rest of this video, we're going to be talking about the decision whether to open the bidding and how high to open the bidding, i.e. with a 1-level bid or 2 or 3. I do want to point out something about the 2/1 response I made with this south hand. So I would not force to game with this hand if partner opened 1 diamond, for instance. Okay, because I don't have a fit with partner, I have a 4-card major that I can bid at the 1 level, and I don't know how pure my high cards are. I don't have a very good sense for that yet. The fact that I've got a singleton in partner's suit, there's nothing to suggest about this hand yet. Compare that with if partner opens 1 spade, all of a sudden I have a very good hand, right? Because I know, very good for 10 points. Because I know I have 3 cards that absolutely must be working. The Ace of Hearts and the King, Queen of Spades are cards that have to be good for partner. And the 10 of Spades might be a good card. And the fact that we've got a singleton is potentially good. And the fact that we have a known 8-card fit is potentially good. And if we did our loser count on the south hand, we would have 1 spade, 2 hearts is 3, 3 clubs is 6, a diamond is 7. And again, this time we've got an equal number of aces and queens, so we don't have to adjust. So we're at 7, which is an opening hand as far as offensive strength. With the south hand, we have a fit for partner. That's why I'm forcing the game with this particular 10 count. If partner opens a major, I have enough hand to force to game. So all of that's to say, like, your auctions are always, they're always dynamic in nature. They're always related to what partner has bid. So this hand is much better when partner opens a heart or a spade than when partner opens, say, a diamond. So that's why I'm too comfortable using a reasonably light 2/1 here. Also, if you think about it, like say your partner had a very good hand and eventually asked you for key cards, and say you were playing the 1430 convention, you have 3 of the cards that convention is designed to identify. Okay, so those, the ace of hearts and the king queen of spades, we have like some uh, um, data just by the fact that there's this convention that everybody plays that seeks to identify those cards. They must be golden cards. The king of spades is better than the king of clubs would be. The queen of spades is better than the queen of diamonds would be. Okay, the ace of hearts, any outside ace is probably relatively better than if it were the ace of spades. Okay, so this is a really long-winded way of saying not all 10 counts are created equally, and that's a big theme in bidding. Let's go to the next hand. It was board 9, and we have our next open the bidding or not open the bidding question, and it's with the north hand. And the question is whether to open a weak 2. I'm certainly not opening this hand at the 1 level. If you check your loser count, it's at 9, I think. 1 spade, 2 clubs, and 3 in each of the red suits. And yeah, 1 ace, 1 queen, so there's no adjustment on that. 9 losers is never a hand I'm opening at the 1 level, and hopefully not with anything. 9 losers is a bad hand. So I hope that you think about things like, if I'm considering opening this hand 2 hearts, what does my suit look like? And the answer is it's garbage. It's 10-8 sixth. And the next question should be, what's my offense to defense ratio look like? And potentially you're providing more defense against, say, their spade contract than you're providing offense in your own heart contract, right? It's possible that the queen of clubs is a defensive card, but not an offensive card. The ace of spades is good in either sense. And you have no tricks in the heart suit other than perhaps if we can eventually run them out of hearts, perhaps we score a long trump. But the offense to defense ratio is all wrong for opening a preempt. Okay, that's the only point I have on 9. Again, keep in mind that all of this is like, it's a spectrum, and this is what I'm comfortable with. And my style is probably a little more aggressive about opening the bidding, and actually probably a little more, probably I preempt less than most people do. I'm a little bit more of a stickler for having that high offense to defense ratio, or having good suit quality, or having fewer cards outside of the suit. Let's go to the next hand. It was board 16. This is the third of 5 example hands here. And the question here was on north. Again, I feel like I should bid with this hand. I have 6-3, and my 9 high cards are concentrated in my long suits. I'm not vulnerable against vulnerable. I think I can look at this hand, do our losing trick count: 1 in spades, 3 in hearts, 1 in clubs, and 2 in diamonds, brings me a total of 7. I have an equivalent number of aces and queens, so that's a wash. So that 7 is telling me I have the minimum offensive strength required for a light opening bid. And now I've ruled out pass, so it's a question of 1 spade or 2 spades. Well, again, let's look at our offense to defense ratio. The king of diamonds is a good defensive card. It's a better defensive card than an offensive card. Defense is going to tend to make me open at the 1 level rather than open with a preempt. I want my preempts to have a high offense component. And let's look at our spade suit. We have a fair amount of tricks here, certainly more than when we had 10-8 empty sixth. We probably have 4 tricks of offense here, But what we also have is defense. We have a definite defensive card in the ace. Uh, our interiors aren't great. Like ace, queen, 9, 8, 6 is not great. And if we defended against a heart contract here, say, we've got all kinds of defense, right? We've got the ace of spades, which is probably a trick. We have a club singleton, which means that perhaps we could get a club ruff on defense. And if we that ruff isn't going to be helping us on offense back when we're thinking to offense defense ratios. The queen of spades could potentially be a trick on defense. What I'm coming to is my offense to defense is lower than I want it to be, i.e., more defensively oriented than I prefer to have for a preempt. So once I come to that conclusion and the conclusion that I'm not passing with this hand, I open one spade. Hand 4 was the next hand, 17. And it's again a question about the north hand. This time we don't have the question of whether we should open with a preempt because we've got a 5-card suit. And there's a time and a place for preempting with a 5-card suit, but it's not white on white with jack empty 5th, and certainly a reasonable alternative in opening the bid 1 spade. So one thing that was mentioned was the rule of 20, which says if you're considering opening the bidding, add your high card points to the lengths of your 2 longest suits. So here we would have 11 high cards plus 5 spades plus 4 clubs equals 20 or more. And the rule of 20 leads us to opening the bidding. If we think about it in terms of losing trick count, we have 3 spades, 2 hearts, a club, and a diamond is 7. We have 1 ace and 1 queen, so there's no adjustment. Losing trick count says we have the minimum requirement on offense as well. And we're opening 1 spade here rather than passing. And 2 spades is not anywhere in the picture here. One more. Hand 21, north dealt. And if we look at losing trick count, it's 3 spades, 1 heart, 2 clubs, and a diamond, which gives us 7. This time we do have a surplus of queens. We have one queen more than ace. So we're going to add half a loser and get up to 7.5. That's telling me that opening the bidding would be pushing it a little bit, right? So the next question is, should I open with a preemptive bid? Okay. And I'm probably not going to get cute and open this at the 2 level. Okay. It's a question of whether I'm opening 3 or passing. And if we think about offense to defense again, you know, if my partner didn't have any help for me in hearts and didn't have much of a hand, how many tricks am I going to take on offense? Well, I'm probably going to take about 4.5 tricks in the heart suit, and I have nothing on defense. Like maybe the jack of spades helps build a trick in defense that it doesn't really help in offense, but I'm never going to be able to score a heart trick on defense unless the suit is 7-2-2-2 around the table and declare can't pitch one of those cards on some other suit that gets established. So the offense to defense ratio here is much more attractive for a preempt, okay, than on those other hands. My hand is much more about hearts and much less about being able to contribute in the other suits than it was on some of the other close calls that we had. So against that, I'm vulnerable against not vulnerable. So I think this one's close. If you wanted to open at 3 hearts, I'm fine with that. If you want to pass it, I'm fine with that. 1 heart is not in the running here because it's 6 high cards and it's 7.5 losers. You don't want to do that. But what I'm hoping to put in your toolbox is the things that people would be thinking about when they're think of it, all these decisions as a scale, and you're putting these components on this side of the scale and these components, and through experience you learn how to calibrate the scale better. But hopefully this will help you know which metrics we should be using in making our decisions. So that's our 5 hands. To recap, I like opening the bidding, okay? I like opening the bidding so much because the side that opens the bidding gets a better score on average. That's the only reason I like opening the bidding, because I like scoring better than not scoring. After I open the bidding light, I'm actually going to be somewhat conservative in constructive auctions. Okay, so when we have the auction to ourselves, I'm going to be somewhat conservative. That's for two reasons. First of all, I want to encourage my partner to open light. And second of all, we don't have to bid thin games at pairs. We don't have to bid thin games at pairs. Okay. Um, the other idea is for unbalanced hands versus balanced hands. Balanced hands, open all your 12s. Unbalanced hands with 11, or excuse me, balanced hands with 11. Check your vulnerability. Check whether you have a 5-card suit, 5-3-3-2 versus 4-3-3-3. Check your 10s and 9s and make a judgment call about that. What I'm hoping to help you improve is your judgment on unbalanced hands. That's what I've got, and hopefully this helps you in your judgment about opening the bidding, or at least clarifies where my algorithm went totally wrong. All right, enjoy your bridge.